After a 6-hour and 39-minute game and 18 innings of baseball, 2 games worth of baseball, the Blue Jays and the Dodgers scraped themselves out of bed to face off in Game 4 at Dodger Stadium. This is MLB Game Night postseason edition.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Welcome into MLB Game Night, every game, every night, postseason edition. I'm one of your hosts here at Game Night, Jon Frisch. I'm one half of Locked On Angels. With me is J.D. Hafron of Locked On Cardinals, and who the Dodgers and Blue Jays kept up till 3:30 in the morning because we had to wait for that game to finish and start game night.
It was actually
right after that.
4, buddy. It was 4 a.m. before my head hit the pillow after we got. So it was a long night, but hey, we were part of history, John. We got to quit complaining about it. It was history. It was epic. It was great. Thank God it didn't happen again tonight.
Exactly. Hey, coming up on the show, Ohtani starts in his first World Series game ever on the mound. How would the Jays respond with George Springer missing from the lineup? And how do these two teams respond after a long night in Los Angeles? We're going to get to all of that, but before we do, want to thank our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today. JD, Toronto 1, Dodgers 2. It's a 2-1 series lead coming into Game 4 for the Dodgers. It's a long one after last night. 18 innings, of course. Eventually the game ended with a Freddie Freeman walk-off homer in the bottom of the 18th. That just feels weird to say. The Dodgers took the 6-5 win and the 2-1 series lead. Freeman's second walk-off homer in his second consecutive World Series. Just coming through clutch once again. And the unsung hero for that game was the Dodgers' Will Klein out of the bullpen, pitching 4 innings of relief, scoreless, throwing 72 pitches and earning the win. Both teams come into Game 4 exhausted, having used 19 pitchers between the two teams, and everyone coming off the bench at some point. And then George Springer. He'd sit this one out after coming out of the game with an injury on Monday night. And then we got Shane Bieber, who was warming up in the bullpen last night, late in Game 3. Didn't have to come in that one. Eventually got his expected start today for the Blue Jays in his World Series debut on the mound. And then a night after a hugely historic performance from Shohei Ohtani, 4 extra base hits, walked 5 times, reached base 9 times. How many times, JD?
9 times.
9 times. The Ed Rooney special. He got the ball for the Dodgers in his first ever start on the mound in the World Series. So, could the Dodgers take a commanding 3-1 lead in this World Series, or could the Blue Jays even things up at 2 apiece in Game 4 and guarantee a trip back to Toronto? Well, let's hear from Harry of Locked On Dodgers on who has all the momentum and whose bats went quiet in this one.
Officially a best of 3 now. The Dodgers dropped Game 4 of the World Series 6-2 to the Blue Jays, and suddenly all the momentum feels like it's slipping north of the border again. Shohei Ohtani did his job. 6 solid innings, just 2 runs allowed in them, both on 1 swing from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But he was out there in the 7th, and that's where Toronto did damage. Leadoff single from Varsho, a double from Clement, everything unraveled once the bullpen came in. 4 more Jays crossed the plate, and that was the ball game right there. But let's be real, pitching wasn't the main problem. The bats went ice cold again. 6 hits, 2 runs. It marked the 5th time this postseason the Dodgers haven't cracked 3 runs, and the 4th time they've been stuck at 2 or less. You can't win consistently scoring like that. So now it's a best of 3. The Fall Classic's guaranteed to head back to Toronto. And hey, congrats to everyone up there for finally getting the internet back on after after going silent since Saturday. I know I'm going to be seeing you in the comments. Game 5, Wednesday at Dodger Stadium. Blake Snell versus Chase Yosavich. For LA, it's a must-win in my opinion, because if they don't, they're going to be flying north, one loss away from heartbreak.
Ooh, some tough talk from Harry. I love it. Saying, where are the Blue Jays fans at? Now they're going to show up in his comments. I love that. JD, a big reason why the Blue Jays were able to come away with this win was the performance from Shane Bieber. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, just 1 earned run. It was a sacrifice fly, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. And then you go to the other side with Shohei Ohtani. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. 2 of those earned runs were inherited by Anthony Banda, who ended up giving up those 2 extra runs there. Shohei had 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and then just the 2-run homer given up to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, once again, the Dodgers got the scoring started in the bottom of the second, and they were the first ones to put a number on the board. Max Muncy walked. He eventually got the third. Kike Hernandez drove him in with a sac fly. But then the Blue Jays respond in the very next inning with Nathan Lucas, who was leading off for George Springer. And in his place, he singled, and then Vladdy hit that go-ahead 2-run home run to make it 2-1 Blue Jays. The Jays never lost the lead after that. Ohtani started the 7th inning, but after he allowed those first 2 hits to reach, he left the game with runners on 2nd and 3rd. As I mentioned, Banda allowed those 2 runs to score. So Ohtani leaves with 4 runs charged to him. Blake Trinan comes in, allows Bo Bichette to double in Andres Jimenez. Addison Barger hit one the opposite way to score Vladdy Jr. A huge 4-run inning for the Jays in the 7th, got them to take the 6-1 lead. And then I think a guy who's been an unsung hero in this series, Chris Bassett. I would even say in the postseason for the Blue Jays. Normally a starter, 36 years old. He's been around the block for a very long time. Gave the Jays some length, going 2 innings and striking out 2. I think he only threw 8 pitches in last night's game. And the same goes for Anthony Banda for the fact that he didn't throw that many pitches either. So we were questioning who's going to pitch after the 2 starters are done, and we got our answer in this one. Louis Varland came in the bottom of the 9th for the Jays, did allow an RBI ground out to Tommy Edman, but this was 6-2, didn't really matter at that point. Now, a fun fact before I turn it over to you, JD, per Evan Drellick of the Athletic, since this series will go to a game 6 at least, it's the first time ever that a season in MLB has began and will end outside of the United States. It began with the Dodgers versus the Cubs in Tokyo, Japan, and it's going to end in Toronto, Canada, no matter how tomorrow goes between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. So a lot of interesting stuff coming out of this one. How much, JD, do you think this tiredness factor impacted not only the Dodgers bats, but even the Blue Jays? It seemed like the Blue Jays had the momentum throughout this entire game, but Harry mentioned it. Not a lot of offense from the Dodgers side in this one, right?
Yeah, it was kind of expected. Long nights, and usually pitching has the upper hand in situations like that when another team is worn down. It's weird, though, because it was, Ohtani was a part of this the night before. So we didn't know what to expect out of him. I mean, tip of the cap to Ohtani. He was very, very good. The one mistake to Guerrero where he threw the cement mixer up there that stayed up in the zone, and Vladdy tattooed it. So I was impressed with both him and Bieber. Normally the night before a game, I don't know how many times the starter is actually still hanging out at the game, but it's all hands on deck, right? So Shane Bieber had to be out there, and and ended up, as you mentioned, he ended up warming up a little bit in that bullpen. So it was an impressive performance from both of them. Obviously, Ohtani having to do what he did the previous night and then come back and pitch. It's crazy to me that because I was texting people today, like, would you even start him? Would you just push him back? Would you just let somebody else do it instead? But he seemed like he was fine and was willing to do it. And until that 6th inning, it looked like he had a lot of gas still left in the tank. Yeah. It wasn't like he was on fumes or anything. So it was very impressive by everybody involved. But in the end, the Jays just kind of did Toronto Blue Jays baseball type of things and were able to beat Ohtani and the Dodgers. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the conversation of how the Blue Jays, they had a lot to overcome heading into Game 4 if they wanted to even up this series. And we'll mention what they did right and also where the Dodgers offense went wrong. We're going to get into all of that coming up on MLB Game Night.
Today's show is being brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions each and every day. Some are good, some are bad. But on PrizePicks, when you're right, when you do something right, you choose something correctly, it ends up getting you cash. You cash in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. All you got to do, and it's real easy, guys. You pick more or less between 2 and 6 player projections. That's all there is to it. And you turn your takes into real prizes, and you can do it all in less than 60 seconds. You think a certain quarterback's going to throw over whatever the passing yardage threshold is that they have for you. You put them in. You think a running back's going to do it. You put them in. You think they're going to go less. You can do that too. If you feel bad about a certain guy that you're like, no, I don't think he's going to have a bad game. Use that hunch. Put your guy in. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Back here on a Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, postseason edition. And we've got one game to discuss, and it was Game 4 between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. But let's be real. Both teams are coming into this one absolutely exhausted. But the Blue Jays, it was them who absolutely had to step it up if they wanted to keep their World Series dreams alive. And they had a lot to overcome in this one, a lot of adversity. And I think they showed a lot of resilience because here's what they were coming into this game with. A lot of challenges in front of them. They took that tough loss in the 18-inning marathon that was Game 3. They lost George Springer to injury. He stayed out of the lineup. And then you have to deal with Shohei Ohtani on the mound. So there's a couple of ways that the Blue Jays bounce back in this one. And the first begins with Bo Bichette at DH. With Springer out, I think the obvious move, J.D., was putting Bo Bichette into that DH role. He's been out of the postseason so far up until the World Series with that knee injury, and rather than playing shortstop, he's been playing over at second base. And he's been removed from the game for like a defensive replacement, or he's even had a pinch runner come in for him. And when that's happened, you lose him in a very crucial spot in the Jays lineup. It's a big part of why you and I think the Jays really couldn't come through late in Game 3. Too many pinch runners, defensive replacements, not enough of the big bats. Isn't that what we saw in Game 3 late in that one, JD?
Yeah, and and their manager, Schneider, was, he was taking some risks and he had to get some runners in there. It almost paid off when he pinch ran for Alejandro Kirk because the pinch runner Heineman ended up making that play and getting to third base where he was ruled out and then they called him safe. And it almost paid off. And they just weren't able to get those guys in. And then late, in the game, now you're down 3 of your bigger bats. And it's like, all right, now you're playing with a very limited team that is not expected to do all that much damage. That's why they're all bench players. So it just kind of put him in a bad spot. But, he was aggressive. And he was aggressive again tonight when he pinched it for Lucas. I was like, oh, really? You're going to go ahead? All right.
Ty France
again, their new favorite guy off the bench. And it worked out. Ty France got the job done.
Yeah, put the ball in play, and that's kind of what leads into the second point for how the Blue Jays were able to bounce back in this one. They put the ball in play, and they forced the issue. 11 total hits for the Blue Jays, and listen to this, the 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the lineup, Dalton Varsho, Ernie Clement, Andres Gimenez, 5 for 12 from the bottom of the order. I know IKF didn't have a hit, but he even put the ball in play. We'll talk about that in a second. You've got a productive out from Ty France, who grounded out, but he still got that runner home from third. And that's really what the Blue Jays do. They just tack on little by little. And I know it was just the one big inning, but it begins with the Varsho single, the Clement double, Jimenez single, IKF lines out, but it had a 450 expected batting average on it. So it wasn't like a nothing hit, just went right over there to Muncy at third. And then France gets that RBI ground out. Guerrero's intentionally walked. Bichette drives him in with a single, or gets an RBI single, I should say. Barger goes the other way for an RBI single. And I'm reading off that list because I just want everybody to understand this is what the Blue Jays do and what they've been doing so well all year long, right, JD?
Yeah, this was Blue Jays baseball. When I said that in the first segment, is, they were doing Toronto Blue Jays type of things, and that's getting base hits and putting the ball in play. They led the league in hits during the regular season. Second hardest team in the league to strike out. That's a good little matchup that you got there. That leads to a lot of success. It can lead to a lot of double plays, which I believe they led the league in that category too. But they also led the league in hitting with runners in scoring position and with runners on in general. This is something that the Blue Jays just excelled at all year long. And normally, too, while they're doing that to you, they're also fouling off 2 and 3 pitches and pushing the count to, 2-2, 3-2 counts. And it's just an exhausting lineup to go up against. And eventually they just put it in play against you. And when you do that, things can happen. We know that, errors can happen. It can find holes. People make mistakes. But when you strike out, nothing happens.
Right.
Just nothing, right? So that's kind of when you see some of these teams that, it's kind of like looking for that 3-run homer, and it's a lot of swing and miss, but they also got a lot of home runs, yay. But at the same time, putting the ball in play could lead to so many different things that can be positive for your offense. It sounds like a simple strategy, I know, but not every team has got the talent to do what Toronto does and do it as well as they do, which is one of the many reasons why they are where they are right now, tied at 2 games apiece against arguably the greatest team in baseball right now in the Los Angeles Dodgers, as far as just like talent on a roster. So it's been very impressive. They've been doing it all year, and it did not shock me that they had another one of these type of games again, coming off of the loss last night.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to me, the impact of a hitting coach, because they fired the guy from last year. They brought in a new one to start this year, and you can see the instant impact. Like you said, not everybody can just rely on putting the ball in play. You got to have your Vladdy Juniors and your Bo Bichette's and your George Springers in there, but it's the table setters, right? And like I mentioned, 5 for 12 from the bottom of the order and getting on base for these guys to drive them in. It's just really working out for them. And it was a big part of the reason why they were able to bounce back from that disappointing loss last night. Another reason I think that they did well in this one, the pitching matchup and overcoming Ohtani on the mound. I think Shane Bieber gave the Blue Jays exactly what they needed, and that was just enough. I mentioned the 5 1/3 innings pitch, 2 strikeouts and a walk to Ohtani at the plate. Ohtani ended up going 0 for 3 with a walk, and that walk led off the game. But that's a huge bat to keep quiet after he had that amazing performance on Monday night. And then I think the Jays, at the end of the day, they took advantage of not just a tired Dodgers team, but a tired Shohei. They made him throw 90 pitches by the 7th inning, and that's pretty efficient, right? But at the same time, you could see in his velo how tired he was getting it. And throughout this game, his miles per hour average on all of his pitches was slightly under from where it was this year, and that includes those short starts that he had as he was working his way back. And then, not only that, it forced Dave Roberts to go to the least tired bullpen arms, and that's Anthony Banda, and that's Blake Trinan, who didn't throw a lot of pitches last night, but that's when the big inning happened. And yeah, maybe Shohei went a little bit too far in this outing because he gave him 6 good innings, but you can't go to this Dodgers bullpen. They just haven't shown up at all. And you couldn't even go to the guys that you can count on, like Roki and those sorts of guys. So it forced Dave Roberts to make a change. JD, this is the blueprint we thought that the Blue Jays would need. Oh, blueprint, Blue Jays. I like that. This is what we thought that they needed to do to beat the Dodgers, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that the one spot on the Dodgers roster that you can get at is the bullpen. It's had its troubles throughout the entire season, and even with Sasaki at the end, this is a kid that I question how great he's going to be in pressure situations, man. I thought he was going to throw up on the mound last night. He looked like he was going to pass out. We've seen him cry already. I know he's young, man, but I need my closer to be a little stronger than this. And I know he's not going to be a closer forever. He's going to be a starter again. But yeah, that's kind of the idea, though, is to push up those pitch counts against the starters for the Dodgers, make Dave Roberts make a change when he's not ready to. And I'm sure he checked in with Shohei and was like, hey, are you good? Or, you know, how we feeling? Do you think you got anything left in you? And Ohtani's not going to say, no, I'm done. Yeah. He's going to go out there and he's going to give you everything he's got. And like I said, I mean, maybe the velo was down, but it's not like he was really struggling or anything outside of the Guerrero home run. He was very much in control of this game and looked really, really good considering what he had just come off of last night. But as I mentioned yesterday, I was like, after the adrenaline starts to wear down and things start to get longer in the game, I wonder how the legs were going to be, not only for him, but for Bieber as well. And they both kind of tuckered out around the same time. And Toronto was just the team that was able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it goes into the game plan of getting to that starter, making them work. We saw them do that against Blake Snell, and that's how the Jays were able to take that first game. Now, I mentioned what the Jays did right, but I think it also helped the Blue Jays that some of the Dodgers bats have been very quiet in this World Series so far, especially some of their key contributors. Listen to this. Mookie Betts, 3 for 19, no RBIs for Mookie. Max Muncy, 3 for 17. He's got a home run, but he's also struck out 7 times. Your guy, Tommy Edman, 3 for 18 with just 1 RBI. And then Kike Hernandez, the postseason god, right? He's only here for the postseason, 3 for 16 with 8 strikeouts. So I think you combine what the Jays did right with what went wrong for the Dodgers, as Harry from Locked On Dodgers mentioned in his reaction video, that the Dodgers are going to have to step up and put on a little more offense. But all credit to the Jays for doing what they did in this one, because they played classic Blue Jays ball, which they've been doing all season long. Hey, we're setting you up for Game 5, and that's going to be the last World Series game played in LA. We're going to get you set up for that in just a minute.
Today's show being brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and whew, we've had some exciting games already this season, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, which happens from time to time, you're out doing other things, wife's got you out in the yard or doing stuff in the basement, maybe putting up Christmas decorations. We're already talking about that, which is wild to me. Even when you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has got live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Austin Reeves has been a guy for the Lakers that I've been riding that hot hand recently. Might want to check that out. Without Luka, without LeBron, Reeves has been the guy for them, and he's been cashing in for me. Maybe he can do it for you too. You can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. That'll give you a shot at a bigger payout. It just keeps every game that much more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets. That's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up today, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
So we know this series is headed back to Toronto no matter what happens in Game 5, whether the Dodgers win or the Blue Jays win. We are going back to Toronto, but we've got one more in Los Angeles. It's going to be Trey Savage going for Toronto against Blake Snell for Los Angeles. Last time out, let me talk about Trey Savage. They're going to call upon him, the rookie. He's going to toe the rubber, 22 years old. He's become one of their steadiest starters since coming up to the big leagues in the middle of September, and he's made 3 starts before the playoffs even began, and now here he is, a crucial part of what the Jays are doing. So this is not a rookie who's been up all year, and he was pitching in East Carolina last year, like a newborn child checking out the world for the first time. And he started the season in A-ball, went to high A, double A, triple A. Now he's making his second start of the World Series against the Dodgers. So couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, and also couldn't happen as fast as it's happening to Trey Savage. So here's what we've got. He's got 4 starts so far in the postseason. He's 2-1. He's got a 4.26 ERA, 27 strikeouts across 19 innings. But those numbers, they're a little bloated in the bad direction thanks to that rough start against Seattle. He did give up 5 runs in 4 innings, but the other 3 starts have been quite good, especially that first one against the Yankees. I think he took all Yankee fans by surprise with how he performed in that one. He got the ball in game 1 of the World Series, didn't go deep into the game, just 4 innings, but he held the Dodgers to 2 runs on 4 hits while he struck out 5. If there's something to watch when it comes to Trey Savage, it's the free passes. He's walked 3 batters in each of his last games. So the Dodgers are going to have to use that to their advantage. And if they do, it could be a quick night for the rookie starter, but he will get the ball for the Jays in game 5. JD, on the other side is Blake Snell, isn't he?
Snellzilla, the 2-time Cy Young Award winner, only had 11 starts during the regular season, but was virtually unhittable over the first 3 starts during this postseason. He beat the Reds, beat the Phillies, beat the Brewers. So it's not like it was any easy teams to go mowing down, but that's exactly what he did. He allowed a combined 2 runs and just 6 hits over 21 innings against those 3 guys while striking out 28 and only walking 5, which was the one stat that we pointed out. It didn't really shock me that he had the strikeouts or the amount of runs that he gave up and being so low. It was that he only walked 5, because if there's one thing we've learned about Blake Snell over the years is that normally he's one of those guys that's going to, 5, 6, 7 strikeouts over 5 innings, but he usually got 3, 4, 5 walks. He'll put some free guys on, and to only have the 5 walks, it kind of caught us off guard a little bit. It was dominant stuff from the 32-year-old left-hander, but game 1 of the World Series in Toronto, bit of a different story. Was given that 2-0 lead, but only made it 5 innings. He allowed 5 runs on 8 hits, including the 2-run shot by Dalton Varsho. Walked 3, struck out 4. Ended up having to throw 100 pitches just to get to that point, which is kind of like a normal thing that we would see out of Blake Snell. So it's not that he pitched horribly by any means, but he was actually pitching pretty good until that 6th inning. But that evil leadoff walk, we know how those are always like one of the most dangerous things to do. It's a big no-no, big faux pas to have a leadoff walk against anybody in any inning, and that's what got everything started. It was the leadoff walk. Then there was a single. Then he hits Varsho, which ended his night, but then he ends up, the bases are loaded, nobody out, hands the ball over to the normally very volatile Dodgers bullpen, and that's not a great recipe for success. It did not end well. It went about as bad as it could with the Blue Jays scoring. How many times, Sean?
9 times.
That's right. Another Ed Rudy special there off of Sheehan and Banda, which included the Barger Grand Slam and the Kirk 2-run shot, and that just blew everything open. It was the first real stressful game for him of the postseason. Jays went on to win that one and roll by a score of 11-4. He had a couple other games during the regular season where he gave up 5 runs, but for the most part, it's been kind of easy going for Blake Snell. So there's a few things that I think you should keep an eye on when it comes to this particular game, because first off, Blake Snell and Trey Savage, these teams have seen them already. Yeah, right. Already. So now there's no, you're not hiding anything from them anymore. We know that this is a game of adjustment. So how will the Dodgers hitters adjust to seeing Savage a second time? Yeah, that's a real question.
Absolutely. And the fact is, we heard from Dave Roberts after tonight's game, and Bill Shaken of the LA Times said that the Dodgers lineup might look a little different tomorrow, according to Dave Roberts. Another comment he made was they just haven't found their rhythm. And I think that that's true when, you see a hit from Mookie, you see a hit from Freddie, but then you see Will Smith go 0 for 4. I think they're due for some kind of lineup shakeup because there's just not a consistency or a coherence from 1-9. And so to change things up a little bit, I think at this point of the World Series, it's a good time to do that. Now, the other side of that coin is
I do want to say one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
In Will Smith's defense, he did catch 18 innings last night and had to catch 10 today. So if he's a little sluggish today, I can see why.
Well, he that's baseball karma for the absolute pimp job he did on that long fly out to.
We didn't bring that up last night.
I had to get that one in there. Now on the other side, it's Snell who's going to have to adjust to the Blue Jays lineup. And the Blue Jays, I'll make it a verb, they Blue Jayed Snell. They made him work. They made him throw a lot of pitches. Yeah. And that's how they were able to get to him. Something that Cincinnati or the Phillies and the Brewers didn't do to Blake Snell, like you mentioned, JD. Now, who's available in the bullpens after the marathon last night? And then, seeing the guys who didn't throw as many pitches finish this one out. They got solid starts from their starters in game 4. Again, Bieber, 5 1/3, Fluharty, Bassett, and then Louis Varland at the end. And of course, you can't have a Blue Jays game without Louis Varland at the end. On the other side, Dodgers, they get 6 innings from Ohtani. They use Bonda, Trinan, Jack Dreyer. Now, neither you Savage or Snell usually are known for going deep into games, but Snell has done that, 3 times before this Blue Jay start. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these managers utilize their bullpens, especially with Trey Savage never pitching 6 full innings in the big leagues yet. I wonder if tomorrow night will be the night that they call upon him to give it his all in what will probably be the last time we see him in this series, unless he comes out of the bullpen in like a game 6 or a game 7. So real quick, JD, before we wrap up, how do you see this one shaking out on Wednesday night?
Woo! I think the Blue Jays need it more because Yamamoto's on deck waiting for him, and if you lose this one, then you got to beat Yamamoto. And I get that it's going to be back in Toronto, but the way he's pitched, it's been,
you could really seal the deal if you get a win on Wednesday and then have Yamamoto pitched Friday.
And it's not like Toronto can't knock somebody around. Obviously, they did it to Blake Snell. If there is an offense that's going to bust somebody up who has been on fire, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. They've done it all year. So, but I feel like the Blue Jays need it more. So they might play a little more desperate tomorrow. So I don't know. I love the upsets. So I'm gonna roll with Toronto, even though I picked the Dodgers to win this whole thing in 6.
Same.
I'm rooting for the Blue Jays now, and I just feel like they got some momentum on their side right now. And the fact that they were able to get to Blake Snell last time, I think that bodes well for them.
Yeah, and look, I'm with you. I said Dodgers in 6 too, but as a baseball fan, I'm really enjoying this series. I'm not going to lie. I've watched every inning of it so far, including all 18 like we did last night. Speaking of big numbers, thanks to the currently 116 in the watching this live. We appreciate you. And just know that JD and I will be back tomorrow night for more MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we'll see you back here for another edition after tomorrow night's game for MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night.